What is going on, golf fans? It's your boy Luke here with another live stream, right? It's another week, just another PGA Tour event to take home. Even though it might not be a major championship, we might not have the best elevated field or anything like that. There are still GPPs to take down. And of course, over there on the prop side, some money to be made there too, even if it isn't going to be on Prize Picks or Underdog. That drama will have to wait towards the end of the live stream. Hopefully, after we've had a little bit of this Crown and Coke, we have got our lineups in, we've got our prop slips in at this point. So just gonna stream here, maybe get a little bite to eat afterwards, play some video games, then get ready to wake up and sweat some golf. So cheers to everyone out there. Welcome to the live stream. You got Jonathan down there. What's going on, Jonathan? Says we be chirping. You know it, chirping all weekend, right? Tweet. Out there with that site. What's going on, HH? We got Mark there. Says Lucas. What's going on, Mark? We got Linzor who says, if you don't like the stream, you don't like me. Well, yeah, go out there and like them, right? If you want to be liked by Zindor out there, right, you don't want to be completely hated by the guy, hit the like button for me. Hit the like button for me out here. We'd much appreciate it. What's going on, Brant? What's going on, Paul? Just dried out from the Sunday's nonstop rain, which first off, Paul, that should have been a lot of fun out there. Damage limited. You said because of Michael Jordan. There you go. Nice, right? Yeah, I wish I had an outright that included like second, third place on like a John Rahm, a few other guys I had in second place. Good old Brian Harmon just had to steal the fun last week, huh? Go out there and take the outright. I know a few people had him in the community. First off, hats out to you if you had that outright, but like I definitely didn't see this coming. So we're just going to start with the weather, which wasn't really going to be a huge part of my process until like 30 minutes ago. That's why I want to start with it. So we've seen a little bit of change. And actually, let me move it over here so we can see the entire weather forecast. Okay, there we go. So first and foremost, for Thursday, right? This is the most recent information. I'm using the HRRR model, which for 24 hours out is the most accurate. Tomorrow afternoon, spicy, not only in terms of temperature, but also in terms of the winds and wind gusts. Not only is it going to be 100 degrees from the time it gets to like noon, you're also looking at double, triple the winds of what you have during the morning hours. And then your wind gusts are about double as well. So you've got yourselves, much harder conditions, right? You're going to be dealing with probably firm and fast greens, right? With 100-degree temperatures. And then on top of that, pretty gusty conditions with all that water out there. If you're going to get balls bouncing into some of these hazards, rather than holding up in the fairway, this afternoon wave tomorrow might be a little bit of carnage. And now, carnage at this course, let's put that in quotes, right? Isn't going to be like a 1 or 2 over par scoring average, but it might play like a stroke over par in the afternoon. I think that's well within the cards, right? Half a stroke, maybe just like a quarter of a stroke over par scoring average is still likely going to be a lot harder than what we see tomorrow morning. So, regardless of what you're looking at on Friday, I think that this is going to have a huge impact on this golf tournament, particularly with the guys that are making the cut down low. We go over here to Friday, and this is where it gets a little bit more jumbled, right? So if we take a look at the early Friday forecast, which I would say the NAM model is probably the better model to look at for Friday, you'll see that it's calling for relatively low winds early. In fact, pretty much the whole way up until like 4 p.m. local time, you're going to have, I would say, low winds, like nearly ideal conditions, right? Sub 10-mile-an-hour wind gusts. And then right around like 4 or 5 p.m. And now keep in mind, right, this forecast is over a day out at this point, right? It's exactly 2 days out pretty much right now. It has it getting a little bit spicier, right? Towards the end of that PM wave. If this were to be the true forecast, right, this isn't going to make up for the whole PM wave on Thursday getting absolutely hammered, right, by 100-degree temperatures and 25 to 30-mile-an-hour wind gusts, right? That's going to have a much larger impact than this 3-4 hour period where it's only in the mid-80s in terms of temperature, and then your winds aren't nearly as strong, right? They're a lot tamer there. So what this is looking like to me, and look at this, the NAM model for tomorrow, by the way, is calling for a rain shower at some point. So there's a lot of variability across some of these models, right? We'll look at a few others if you guys would like to. The point here being, though, that look at the wind gusts, right? Like 30 up to 32, 36 miles an hour. I mean, no matter what model we look at here, tomorrow afternoon looks like it's going to suck, right? Whether there's going to be rain in the forecast, whether there's going to be a thunderstorm that comes through. I would say the one thing that could throw this off, right, would be a thunderstorm. So when we get to my player pool, you'll see I'm not overplaying this edge, right? This is something I'm more considering for my players down low, right? When I'm trying to take maybe a 7K option or definitely like a 6K option, I feel a lot more comfortable about the AM PM wave, right? Knowing that tomorrow that they're going to have pretty good conditions early on. But, up top, right? Even I'd say in like the top of the 7K range or definitely like the 8, 9K range, there's going to be guys in the PM wave I'm taking. Like JT, Gary Woodland, I'm not talking myself off of. Aaron Rye, for example, who's used to playing in windy conditions, or an Eric Cole, right, from South Florida, also very used to these kind of tropical winds. And I know it's not a tropical area, but it's going to be 100 degrees in like 25-mile-an-hour winds. That's literally what it's like down here, right? It's nearly tropical. I know it's up there in Minnesota, don't worry, but it has that feel to it. It's looking like the AM wave guys are at least the safest bet, right? Like tomorrow afternoon, maybe there is a little bit of a thunderstorm. Maybe they don't even play tomorrow afternoon and that throws off the edge. Well, then you're there with a 50-50, right? And you just happen to be on certain guys down low that you maybe wouldn't have been on before, right? So be it, right? I'd chalk that up as like not a win, not a loss at that point, right? If you're correct about it, right, there's no delay. The PM wave tomorrow does get smacked by the wind, like you see in this HRRR model, which again, this is the more accurate model, right? The one with 100-degree temperatures. If you look at any of the local forecasts, they look very similar to the one that we're looking at right here. Then there's going to be that edge, right? And then you did a good thing, right, with taking the AM wave guys. So I think if anything, you're going to get a 50-50 situation if you target the AM PM stack and hopefully actually get a half a stroke to a stroke advantage between the two waves. So that's the way that I'm going to play it. Like I said, we'll talk about a few players that I'm still taking in the PM wave, but definitely down towards the bottom of the 7s or the 6K range. Vast majority, if not all of my plays down there are going to be from the advantageous wave. So we'll leave it at that. Let's catch up on chat, see what's going on down there, and get ready to rock and roll with some DFS talk, some interesting lineup construction stuff that I think we should touch on. Let's see. And I got to learn the Scouch accent a little bit more. I can't even say that right. I'm sure I butchered that, Paul, because I got to get out that way golfing, some links golf, get out to some of the pubs out there that here are so good. Me and a few buddies, we've been talking about getting out to a trip out there. So if we do, I'll let you know, Paul. Maybe we can get out and get a round going. But you guys, it feels like a really good place to visit, especially for someone my age, right? Lots to do. Nico says, what app is going to nut up and take the whole golf community? Normal payouts, normal rolls. Chirp has done that so far, Nico. So I don't know if you've seen it yet. We're going to talk about it when we get to props later, but Chirp kind of looks like that. Tyler says, what do I think about a tourney bet on Sanjay to beat Finau? So you think that Tony's been semi-spraying it off the tee? I'd agree, and might hit into some of the hazards. I really like Sanjay this week. I'm not playing Tony Finau, so I think I'm with you there, right? And I have to imagine that because Finau is returning champion, that you're probably getting maybe minus 110 odds on Sanjay, right? Maybe even getting plus money on the Sanjay side. I like that a lot. What's going on, Bobby? What's going on? Self says, good evening, everyone. Cheers to everyone out there. This is not wine, by the way. This is a Crown and Coke. I'm just classy like that. I'm using the wine glass. So if I played Showdown, would I play Morning Wave guys? Absolutely. That would be the way that I would kind of approach it. Now, like I said, Max, the one forecast we were looking at, it looked like there was a chance of some kind of sell coming through. And if they have to delay play and play does go into, let's say, Friday morning for finishing round 1, might make it like a 50-50 kind of situation. So I don't know if I'd go crazy on that edge. Like, I would definitely only play AM guys, but I'd only throw a few lineups in, right, for round 1 Showdown. I wouldn't be throwing like a ton of exposure on it, right? Because I'm already doing that for main slate, right? I'm already taking that kind of calculated gamble out there. Good to hear early starters have an advantage for round 1 leader. You've got Norman and Glover. There you go. Okay. Yeah, I definitely round 1 leaders mostly are coming from the AM wave, right? And tomorrow, I think especially so. Samuel says, what's up, peeps? What's going on, Samuel? Stuart Sink, 7K. Okay, I could see it. He's been playing okay of late, Mark. So I've seen crazier things. I don't think I'm going to be there myself, or I'm not a huge Stewart Sink guy, but definitely playing well. Do I ever lock my core plays 100%? I do occasionally, and I usually will let you guys know. The last time I did it, I believe was John Rahm it was like the Mexico Open, right? He won that golf tournament. Before that, I believe it was Scotty at another one of those like smaller field events that he went out there and won. I don't lock players very often, but when I do, they oftentimes win the golf tournament. I think the last like 5 times I've locked a player, they've won like 5 of the 6 times. And normally it's like a guy at like plus 350, right? I won't do it for like a 10-1 player. Like in large field GPPs, because I only play in like the 150 max, if I'm going to lock somebody, it's because I am like damn near certain that they're going to win that golf tournament, which, like I said, that's not a very common occurrence. So it happens, not very often though. Thoughts on Sahith and I guess dealing with potential windy conditions? Yeah, so JT too, right? Same thing with Gary Woodland. They're all PM Wave golfers. I'm still taking them. One thing we'll talk about, I'll just mention it right now, guys, is if this weather edge is going to be a thing, I'm going to have to take a look at some of the other content out there, a few other live streams. I know DGen will put out his weather thing that he does every day. We've got other live streams like Stochastic I can look at. I'm going to try and look at like the Ship It Nation one, all the different sites out there. And I want to see what they're saying about the weather. Right? I want to see if they're pushing the same kind of thing that I was, right? About this AM wave maybe being a little bit of a look this week. If a lot of people are, that's going to make these guys even lower owned. Like a JT, right? Less people are going to play them, right? Less people are going to get to a Gary Woodland and a Sahith Theegala, which actually makes me like them even more. Right? Like I know that they're going to be at a disadvantage, right? Playing out of that wave. But if we're going to get a lower owned version of those players, I don't know if I hate it. Right? If we're going to get let's say like a 6% Sahith, let's say like a 10% or lower owned JT. Same thing with Gary Woodland because of these, weather edges coming out right last second. That's going to make them damn good plays right there. And these guys around them that are AM wave golfers like Sepp Straka, Sungjae Im, I've actually bumped up in terms of ownership because of this weather edge. And honestly, this could just continue to snowball as it goes forward. I don't know. Sometimes the pendulum goes too far one way, right? You start to see ownership condensing on the same 5 or 6 players up top. And oftentimes, right, like let's think of a few weeks ago, Rory came out of the bad wave. I believe another guy came out of the quote unquote bad wave a few weeks before that, right? Oftentimes your winner isn't even from the quote unquote good wave. So like sometimes the pendulum goes too far the other way, Christian. And oftentimes I play players from the bad wave knowing that the ownership is tangibly going to be higher on the AM wave guys. Like we've seen this just time and time again. That's why we do the week in review streams, right? To actually look at some of those trends. Right? It's why I have the tea time wave still on here, right? When we're reviewing ownership the Sunday after the event, because we can see like, oh, Sungjae Im, we thought was going to be 21% owned. Wouldn't surprise me if we go to those live streams, which I'm going to do after we get off air here. I do it every single week. And I kind of do some scouting on a lot of the different, pieces of content out there. If they're pushing this AM wave, maybe Sanjay's 24% owned, right? Maybe he's even higher than we think, like Tony Finau, right? Hideki, these guys that are going off early, Sepp Straka, right? Might even be like 22, 23% owned. If that ends up being the case, I don't know. It changes things. That's all I want to say is it changes the dynamic of the slate. And I feel like not enough people talk about that. Absolutely. I got you, Tyler. Best of luck this week out there, man. Hopefully that cashes for you. It'll be huge for me in DFS, right? If he can outperform Tony Finau. Thoughts on Keith Mitchell? Good low-owned play, I have to say, Max. He's kind of being overlooked. The form isn't great, so I kind of understand why he's a little bit cheaper now. I kind of understand why, maybe people aren't as excited to play him, right, at $8,600. But he is in the AM wave, and the ownership is low enough where I'm okay taking a shot, right, taking a risk on him returning to form, right? So I'm okay with him going out there missing a cut, but I also know that he's got upside. And I think you do too. Yeah, RIP the Underdog nerfed golf. You can still play over there. I have to say, like they haven't completely removed correlation. Like we're gonna touch on props. We're gonna spend a lot of time on props on this live stream, and there are ways around it. Let's just say that much. Hopefully that continues. Hopefully they don't patch what I've kind of figured out. Mark says Jaegerbomb. So Jaegerbomb, I think, is a decent play. I think he's PM wave though, right? Yeah, so he's PM wave. That's the only thing holding me back on him. If he was in the AM wave, I'd probably be playing him. I think that's the best way to explain him for you. Chance Malnati playing through the weekend depends on when he's teeing off. I'm not a huge Malnati guy. He has been in real dreadful form, but he pops out of nowhere. He's that kind of player. What is his price tag? Okay, he's $6,800. PM wave golfer. Yeah, so I probably can't get there. It's a lot of it's just because these like scrubs down low, right? They need everything they can to go out there and make the cut. And his made cut rate, I've got it over on the other sheet, right, where everything's not blacked out. I'm actually just gonna bring it up right now. I have to think it's like way low, like 30% low, which I don't know. It's not terrible, right? He's probably gonna make the cut. I mean, that's honestly, when you think about it that way, it's like not that bad if he's got a 30% chance to make the cut. But let's see. I got him at actually a 45% chance to make the cut. It's not the worst play. Not the worst play at all. He's PM wave, right? That doesn't help his case. I gotta add to that, Chris, right? That cut percentage was done before the weather came out and whatnot. That definitely affects it a little bit, but I still like it. Blame Minnesota for the weather on windy. Yes, that's what I'm looking at. The golf course, as compared to this pin, is like feet away. I think it's like this golf course right here. Yeah, it's this one right here. This Tournament Players Parkway, TPC Parkway. It's within like 0.1 miles. Yeah. Kazire or Turan for round one showdown. I'd go Turan. Turan, I believe, is an AM wave golfer too. You see why yours look different? You have premium. Yeah, I can see all the different models too, Self. There's like 4 or 5 on there. Thoughts on Ben Griffin? I think he's a decent play because he's in the wave we're looking for. He's in my player pool, and honestly, he plays well at some of the comps I've looked at, like that have a lot of water on them, like linksy, shorter kind of courses. So this week kind of fits that, right? I know it's not a shorter course, but you got to keep the ball in play. I kind of like it. Thoughts on Sam Stevens for showdown? If he's going off early, I'm okay with it, which I believe he is. Yeah, I'm playing him. So yeah, AM wave golfer. Thoughts on someone would get banned on Patreon? They'd get banned on Patreon for either like just straight up like sending me verbal abuse, saying something in the Patreon that was like banned. Like there's a million different things you could say that are horrible, right? That are like racist, derogatory kind of terms, or just being a straight up troll and someone that I don't want to help out with picks. There are people that are just like abrasive, like purposely go out of their way to make my life harder that I have banned in the past. Just out of pure me not wanting to help people out, right? Like I provide a product that I could easily charge 5-10 times more. So when somebody like rubs me the wrong way, I normally send them on their way. That's the way that I handle things. And honestly, if you were banned from the Patreon, that was likely the reason why. 99% of the time, that's the reason why. PM AM supposed to be windy, especially tomorrow, abrasive. It looks like the PM tomorrow is going to be nasty. On Friday, the AM on Friday looks pretty good for them, but the damage might be done tomorrow. That's what I'm thinking. Cheston Hadley interest. He's played decently at the course, if memory serves me correctly. So let me double check on that for you. If he has, I'm okay with it. I'm like, it's just like an okay play, by the way. I wouldn't be like overly happy about it. Yeah, the T10 last year, I had investment to that in DFS. So at his price tag, right, he's a 6K golfer. Top 10 finish was fantastic. I don't know if I'm going to go back to it. Thoughts on Goya? Let's see. I don't even know when he's teeing off. He hasn't been playing very well. So I don't have many good things to say about Goya. PM wave golfer, yeah. My interest level is like a 2 on him. I'd say like he's 54 in recent form. So it's not like he's been playing horrendous of late. Like that means he's still gaining to the field in terms of his shots gained metrics. Look at that, right? Gaining 0.1 strokes per round. So it's nothing, mind bending, but still respectable enough, we'll say. And then the shots gained putting on bent grass isn't horrible. So like, I don't want to say you can't play him because he's PM wave. I don't have interest, but I've seen crazier things. You haven't done anything? Oh, I wasn't talking about you, bro. I was talking about this guy, Team Jordan over here. This guy said, why would someone get banned on Patreon? I wasn't talking about you. Do you need to be in the Patreon to be in the Discord? You do, yeah. Discord's only for people on the Patreon page, and you have to ask for an invite on the Patreon to get invited. So it's like something that you get afterwards. You said The app Chirpbird is banned in New York. You were just asking for some help. Yeah, you should have been banned for that. And honestly, I don't think I banned anyone today, ever since we've even gone to Chirp. So yeah, you should be good to go on that end. That's weird. Thoughts on Cap'n? I've heard a lot of things. I don't know anything about the guy, so I'm not playing him, Samuel. I don't play people that I've never heard of before. I don't care if some tout out there has done some research, have said that this kid's a stud. The shots gained metrics that I have on him are him losing 1.9 shots gained per round and him losing 2.7 shots gained putting per round. That doesn't seem like somebody that I want to play. You like Hogard before tee times came out. You think that he's got the bad draw. I think you'd still play him though, right? Like there are people in that range I'm still getting to. So let's touch on that too, right? Like I'm still taking my AM guys down low. Don't get me wrong. But like an Aaron Rye or an Eric Cole, I'm just hoping gets through it. Like I'm still playing them, and they're relatively chalky. So if there's anyone that you're going to fade that maybe you were playing before that is in the bad wave, right? Is in the PM wave. Maybe it's the chalky guys like an Eric Cole, Aaron Rye. Maybe it's you out there taking Hogard, right? Hogard's that same kind of thing. You could argue to fade them, or you could still play them like I am, right? So just to give you an example, right? If you were still playing Hogard, I'd probably still play him. Right. If you were on him before, that's essentially what I'm doing with Ryan Cole. And if anyone's going to get through that bad day of weather, right, it's an elite tier player, right? They can go out there and still shoot 2-3 under par. Then they have 3 other rounds to go low and potentially even win the golf tournament, right? That's how somebody like a Rory gets through the bad wave and wins a golf tournament, right? So like, that's what I would take a look at. Rejoining Patreon with you boys. You don't play fantasy, but you're a golf bettor. Let's make some money together. Yeah, you got to check out the prop stuff too, dude. And all of the spreadsheets, I think they'll be able to help you for your just overall betting process. So would love to have you, Tyler. Check it out. You got banned yesterday on Patreon user Logan. Okay, I'll check it out. Maybe you did get banned for saying something, dude. I don't know. Honestly, it happens a lot. I ban people that honestly rub me the wrong way, and you might have. You might have rubbed me the wrong way. It might not have just been that. You're going hard for Blair or Zach Blair. Zach Blair is super cheap. I have seen a few people tout him. I know the comp courses are it, right? Like people are looking at like PGA National, I think. A few other courses with some water on it that Zach Blair's played well. You can have them. I'm okay with that. No, like I can't do it with some certain guys, and I think that's one of the guys I just can't do it with. You think meant people were being abrasive? No, I was just saying like if they're being abrasive in general, like if they're coming at me and just like, for example, this is the one that gets a lot of people banned, and honestly, I don't care. I'm just gonna run my Patreon the way that I want to. Frankly, I'll put out picks that go like 10-2 or something like that. And like, I'm not asking for everyone to go out there and like thank me or something like that, but like for somebody to come in after that kind of day and just come in, well, damn, this went 4-1. What a terrible day or something like that. I normally ban that kind of MFer because like they're delusional. Like they don't even understand how sports betting works. Like they're like the biggest degenerates like humanly imaginable that think that like every day they should go out there and like go like 10-0 on props. Like that's just like, I have no patience for that. So no, you're good, abrasive. You're good. You've been nothing but positive down there in the chat. It's those kind of people that I'm just like, I don't have the patience for it, honestly. I've been doing this for long enough to where like it's just like, okay, you're gone. I've seen your type before, essentially. Like I know how those people are wired, and I want nothing to do with them. like people can complain, they do what they want, but like not when it's like a 10-1 day. And like it's like the one thing I went wrong, and you're like crying about it. It's like, okay. There's no pleasing those kind of people, right? I'm sure everyone's met that kind of person before. And not to be negative about it, but everyone's met that kind of person before and knows what I'm talking about. There's no pleasing them, right? DZAF says, any Patrick Rogers love? Not that I know of. I think that AM Wave doesn't make him a horrible option. Let me check the ownership for you. Because honestly, I feel like there's a reason why I didn't play him this week. Because like he's not a horrible play from like the top level perspective. So let's see. 8.3% ownership. So ownership's not too bad. That's pretty average for that range. I think he's a decent play. Maybe I just couldn't fit him in my player pool. But yeah, definitely not in my personal pool, but kind of wish I could. Are we doing a 3-3 p.m. AM wave or a 4-2? No, not a 3-3. That'd be that's a non-stack, Samuel. What the hell is a 3-3 p.m. AM? No idea what you're going on about there. or 4-2. Maybe a few 4-2s, but a lot of 5-1s and 6-0s for the AM wave. Marco says, who's your favorite winner this week? Probably after we got the news, right, about some of the weather, it's Sun JM by far, right? Because he's in the AM wave. He was already, right, the lowest odds of any player that I took. So definitely Sunjay. Yeah, JT, Gary, and Sahith are all in the PM wave, which kind of sucks. If you can only choose one between Griot, Straka, and Aberg, which one and why? Straka because he's AM wave, and also Straka because he's gone second place his last 2 starts. The guy is like, he's on the heater of all heaters, except Straka right now. Sorry, no, second, and then he won the John Deere. What am I even saying? He won that damn golf tournament. The guy is just, and before that, he was in good form to begin with, like coming into these events. Like definitely Sepp Straka. That guy, if he misses the cut this week, that just shows you that there's a curse. Wish your boy Spieth was playing, but he's not. Oh well, Alex Noren for the win. Yeah, you're a sicko who likes Spieth and Noren, huh? I got you on the first half of that one, maybe not the second half. Adam Hadwin, course history early tomorrow. Yeah, I like Adam Hadwin. I do. He's a guy I've already actually played. Tipster messaged you, has picked winners. Okay, including the Hobbit last week. Yeah, the Hobbit last week, that's an impressive one. And then Kest at 100-1 for like this week. Okay, so he's got Kest. He's got CT Pand at 150-1. Okay, and their PMT times. Yeah, see, maybe I would tail them, at least for DFS, if they were AM. But yeah, PM Wave can't do it. Are you the only female on here? There's probably a few others. See if they say hi, right? Say hi if you're female down there to HH. Team Jordan says, will I get a notification if you're unbanned? Probably, yeah. I'll think about it at least, Team Jordan. We'll see how you act up here on the live stream, okay? And like I say, I'm not like spiteful about the bans. It's literally because it's just annoying. And I don't feel like dealing with those people, right? Signed up for Chirp with your referral, waiting on verification. It didn't take me long, Nico. I think mine was instant, actually. So it might depend on the state, right? Some of the DMVs might be easier to access than others, right? Because I know I had to put in, I think, my ID number over there for Florida. So I think it might depend on where you're at. What's a good strategy for underdog drafts? Thanks for the feedback, of course. Yeah, so for underdog drafts, if you're talking about for the full event, there's, first few rounds, right? I don't want to say like always best player available, but like pretty much, right? For your first like 4 or 5 rounds. The last few rounds for those underdog drafts are where I like taking guys that have no ADP, like just like super low on flyers to try and get leverage to the field. That's usually how I handle them. If you're doing them for each round, you're saying round 1, definitely take the early guys. But the same thing, right? Early on, take the AM guys, right, that are cycling towards the top of the board, and then towards the latter half of the rounds, maybe some guys that are, either super low ADP or no ADP at all that are AM wave. That's how I would do that. Thoughts on Sig? Good old Grayson Siggy. Let's see. PM wave can't do it. You're the best. No, you're the best self. Appreciate you. Appreciate all the support here, man. Marco says, man, you hope JT has a bounce back week. You think you saw him on Discord, new putter? Yeah, I hope so too, man. He's been working at it. He has a few quotes out there this week that, he's not the type of guy that can play bad golf and like be okay with it, right? Not have an emotional response. And honestly, like a lot of people that are newer to PGA DFS, like I've heard a few hot takes like, oh, JT's like the next Jordan Spieth or like Ricky Fowler going down a bad path. For some reason, I highly doubt that's the case, right? So I'm with you, Marco. I hope he shuts up all the haters this week, and I think he's got a chance to. What's my favorite $7,000 flat player? So if you're making me choose at exactly $7,000, not a lot of like, I would say Callum Turan would be my favorite, but no one that really is like a great play. I mean, Mackenzie Hughes, I guess I'd throw in there. So I'm playing a few guys at $7,000, but yeah, probably Turan. Turan's also the highest owned. So a lot of people agree with that. Matthew says favorite AMT time for a 6K option. So if you're going down into the 6Ks and you're taking an AM wave kind of golfer, I don't really have a favorite. I'm scattershotting down there. There's not really one I want to give you because honestly, there's not a ton of great plays. Like there's only like a handful I'm even playing down there in the 6K range. So to check that out, check out the Patreon. You'll be able to see who I'm playing down there. I've got to keep a little bit behind the paywall. And I think the 6K guys I'm playing this week I think I've got to keep behind the paywall. Like that's one of the bigger edges in my opinion this week is finding who to play down there. Do I have any interest in Cam Davis? So Cam Davis, I know he's going off early. I do like him. I've played him for a lot of props too. I think he's undervalued on that side, especially for some of like the chirp kind of sites. But for DFS, the ownership, it seems fair, I'd say. No, I got you, bro. You're good, Team Jordan. You said, sorry, Dad, I love you. Seriously, sorry if you said anything. I got you. Okay. You're getting closer to getting unbanned. Hey, Luke, personal question. Were you a football player? Not for a lot of my life, only like part-time. Like I played in college. I did some club football in college. Played like a little bit before then, but like not my whole life. Like mostly baseball for me. Golf my entire life. Played soccer quite a bit. Lacrosse. Like I've played a lot of different sports. In high school, I played like 2-3 sports at a time out there. So I'm smaller school, so I could afford to do that. Right? You didn't have to be like all world at any sport to make the team. So we had some fun out there for sure. But football was one of the sports I played the least of, actually, believe it or not. I played more of it in college than I did in high school. All right, so let's take a look at a few other things in terms of DFS. So we went through my strategy in terms of like AM, PM wave golfers, right? A lot of the PM guys that I'm taking, we mentioned right towards the top of the board. Outside of that, it's your typical week, right? You're not trying to reinvent the wheel here, right? Down here in the 7K range, there's quite a bit of chalk that you're going to have to make decisions on. Those include Austin Eckroat getting a ton of ownership. Nikolai Hogard, despite the PM wave tee time, is relatively chalky. So he's one of those guys that you're going to have to kind of make a decision on, right? Figure out whether to play or not. Let's see, who else? A few other semi-chalky players. Kevin Yu, right? A fade this week, right? Somebody I've got at like 10% ownership. Callum Turan, I'd even say, right? He's getting a little bit of attention down there. Not a bunch of chalk down in the 6K range. Maybe a few guys like in that 4 or 5% range that are a little bit notable. Like a Trevor Cohn's getting a little bit of attention. Which is crazy to say, right? Trevor Cohn of all people. But yeah, outside of that, not that much you have to worry about ownership wise, right? Towards the bottom of the board, right? It's going to be spread out. You're going to get like 5% at the very most on certain players. But there are a few key guys to remember, right? And we'll go through them again, right? Kevin Yu, I think you should fade him, but again, make your decision there. Eckroat is a real chalky player that you're going to have to make up your mind on. And I've got Eric Cole and Aaron Rye, 19.5 and 18.3% owned. I mean, that's disgusting. I'm not going to lie, guys. Like if this PM wave advantage gets any bigger, like I might be out on these two. Like that might be, if we get an emergency update over there on the Patreon with me going out there and changing the player pool, it's almost assuredly going to be these two players that are getting kicked out of the player pool, and maybe somebody getting added. Like I don't even know who I'd add. Maybe like a Vince Norman would get added to the player pool. So I've got to say, these are the two that I'm like going out there and eating as chalk. But like the ownership numbers I've got on them, I hope I'm wrong. I hope that they only end up like 15, 16% owned, because nearly 20% on these guys is just, like I said, it's a little disgusting. Makes you want to throw up in your mouth there a little bit. Are we expecting stars and scrubs are more balanced? I'm a little bit more balanced this week, and a lot of it's just because the 6K range sucks. Like there's a few guys down here I'm willing to play, but like not a ton. Like there's a lot less than most weeks. Like most weeks I've got like 10 to 15 6K guys that I feel like I can mix into some lineups. This week it's like 5. So yeah, much more balanced, I'd say. And because I'm not in love with some of the top end guys here, it kind of helps with that too, right? Like a lot of the guys I like for outrights were cheaper to begin with, right? Like a JT, Gary Woodland for a little bit of ownership leverage, and a few of the other guys that I've mixed in, which I'll go through a few of them now, okay? First and foremost, Sepp Straka, I have got him at like 20.7% ownership right now. The guy could come in like 25% owned. I've got a weird sneaking suspicion that Sepp Straka is going to be way chalkier than even I expect, right? And I think I've got his ownership way higher than most other projections do at like 20.7%. Just keep an eye on that sneaky little MFer. I think he might be 25% owned, and it makes sense, right? First place, second place finish coming in. AM Wave golfer, has all the form that you're looking for in the world. I don't know if he's played here before. If he has, it's the icing on the cake. He has. Only 1 for 3 on made cuts. So I guess that's the one thing kind of working against him, I guess, would be the course history. But the guy's going to be real high owned. Just expect to see that tomorrow. A few other things, and I'm still playing him. With that being known, right, I'm still playing him, but I'm playing a shit ton of Sepp Straka this week. We've got Cam Davis. I think will be relatively low owned. Don't be surprised if, let's see, Lucas Glover, right? I've got it 19% owned. Don't be surprised if he's like 25 to 30% owned in some of your higher dollar contests, especially like some of the higher dollar single entries. You're going to see Lucas Glover come in at just ridiculous ownership numbers. Anything else crazy ownership wise? Not that I can think of. Like Austin Eckroyd, I guess, like nearly 20% owned. Like, okay, I wasn't expecting to see that. I can tell you that much. Right? He hasn't played that well of late. I mean, let's just look at it, right? $7,500 Austin Eckroyd, T65 cut T24. And let me see, what is his exact ownership at? Let me bring that up on my other tab over here. I've got Eckroyd at 14.5%. So it's gone down just a little bit there. So I'm playing him this week because I've only got him at 14.5%. But at one point this week, I had him at 20%. It was that was getting way out of hand. So luckily that came down a little bit, but boy, oh boy. If he ends up like 17, 18% owned, that's going to be another like throw up in your mouth kind of play, right? Where like, you're like, am I really going to play this guy, this kind of ownership? The reason why I'm more okay doing that than like Eric Cole, Aaron Rye, like they really make me want to throw up in my mouth right now is because they're PM Wave golfers, right? They've got that to worry about. Let's see. Kazire has never missed a cut here. Is he 4 for 4? We made it every year. Let's see. Good old Patton Kazire. And I got to say, that's kind of surprising given how inaccurate he is off the tee. Yeah, so he's 4 for 4. He's never done better than T34, I guess would be the counter argument, right? And what is his tee time wave? Let's double check. He's PM wave. Yeah, I can't do it, right? His best finish, T34 and PM wave. I guess those would be the counter arguments for me. How's Finau's ownership? I'll check for you. Question. Yeah, if you guys want a specific ownership number, just let me know. More than willing to check. So I've got Finau at 18.2%, which honestly, given the fact that he's a defending champion and he's an AM Wave golfer, not so bad. Now that might grow up a little bit, right? If this AM Wave is going to get steamed up by a few shows, but all makes sense. Which one's more important? Course fit or history? So if you're trying to choose between fit or history, I would say course history if they have it, right? And a lot of players aren't going to have course history. That's the issue, especially when we're at a lower field event, like a lower tier event like we have this week where the field maybe isn't as strong, right? You have a lot of newer players, right, that maybe only have 1-2 starts at most at this kind of golf course, and oftentimes 1 or 0 starts. So honestly, the more usable one, the one that you're going to use more often is course fit, right? The using stats, using recent form metrics to kind of hypothesize how somebody's going to play at a golf course, because oftentimes you don't have the course history. And that's also why we use comp courses, right? I have people ask all the time, they go, comp courses, that's just something that you guys do because everyone mentions them. I had someone mention that this week, and I was like, no, because you got to realize there's a lot of players that don't have course history, and what comp courses are kind of meant to do is to supplement that. All aboard the Hung J train this week. The Hung J train. If he has a huge week, we're going to adopt that nickname for him. That's awesome. Love that, Brant. Samuel says, thoughts on Van Oregon? No idea who he is, Samuel. So I'm out on him. Another one of those players that if I don't know who he is beforehand, I'm not playing him. Just no interest. All right, let's go through some lineup construction stuff, and then we're going to talk about props, which is going to be a whole rant. That's going to be fun. So first off, let's go through some lineup construction. If you're playing cash, I would probably go all AM guys, right? It feels safer, right? We know that PM Wave might get hammered tomorrow. So if you want to take a real balanced approach, take a bunch of AM Wave guys, I think that makes quite a bit of sense. So let's go Straka. Let's go Hadwin. Let's throw Glover in there, right? He's AM Wave. He's chalky too. Let's throw maybe a Justin Sun there. Well, the form's not great, but like, I don't know, starting with these three as a core, right? That doesn't feel like a bad idea. I mean, you could throw Eckroyd in there, right? He's AM Wave, chalky, playing pretty well. Not outrageously well, like he was for quite some time, but still pretty well, right? But he's only has like one missed cut out of his last like 7 starts, 8 starts. That's not too terrible to play in cash. This is how I would probably start my cash lineup with these 4 exact players. Last 2 spots, you can probably take one more stud, right? One more value option, and you've got yourself a starting 6. So in cash, I don't think it's overly complicated. You can take some high-owned players, right? You're not worried about that in a 50-50 contest, and take advantage of the edge, right? You're only trying to beat half the field. So those 1 to 2 point edges that you get for taking an AM wave golfer matter, right, in that kind of format. When we're talking about GPPs, right, our thought process is completely different, right? We're trying to differentiate. We're trying to move ourselves up and win one of these kind of GPPs, right? Where there's nearly 50,000 entries. That's why, maybe I'm starting with a Sanjay, right? He's going to be maybe your highest owned player, but my second man in might be a JT, right? Who's in the quote unquote bad wave, but might be sub 10% owned in some of the GPPs that you're entering. So my thought process, a little bit more aggressive. There are plays that you'd call like negative EV, right? Like taking a PM wave golfer and a JT. I don't know. There's not that many other pivots. Like I guess JJ Spawn, right? He's a PM wave pivot that I'm taking that I think is going to be even lower owned because he's out there in the bad wave. Like there are calculated risks like this that I'm going to take right now. I probably wouldn't start like Sanjay, JT, then Spawn. I'd probably only want to take like one of these 2 guys. Like it's not that many guys are going to get out of the PM wave, right? If there's going to be the advantage that we think there might be. So maybe rather than taking a JT, be throwing a Sip Straka there, right? So we've got 2 kind of chonky pieces there. We've got 1 PM wave guy to kind of really differentiate ourselves. And then with the rest of our lineup, right, we take AM guys, right? So like maybe it's Eckroat, right? He's got some ownership, right? So we've got to try and differentiate at some point. And then you round it off with 2 value plays, right? Again, I can't give you all 6 players. DraftKings hates that. They ban you actually if you go out there and share full lineups. So that's why I've got to cut it off at 4. I'd give you 5 or maybe 6 if I could, but not right there. The Hunjay train. Aaron Bistrin, any Seabez love? I'll let you know in a second. AM wave, I could do it. I don't know if I love it. Let me see if I'm playing them. I don't remember. Again, he's an optimizer. It does a lot of work for me, especially because I put so much time into my projections, right, that I can rely on them like that. $7,500. I'm not playing him, but honestly, in terms of like points per dollar projections, he's one of the better players in that range. So honestly, kind of wish I was playing him. Joined Patreon last week. Best week you've ever had in DFS. Appreciate the research and info. Glad to hear it, Axe. Let's go out there, have ourselves a week here. I don't know if I'm saying your name right. I guarantee you I'm not right. So let's go with 31. We're going to call you for now. T. Swenny says, pulling up late, but you're here. Better late than never, Swenny. What's going on? Any Higo love? If he's AM wave, I could stomach it. Yeah, well, he's PM wave, so no, I can't do it, Chief. You thought Rye was becoming chalk? He's nearly 20% owned. He's definitely chalk. He's 19.5% owned. He's one of the chalkiest players on the slate. I'm still playing him though. Got any info on that amateur? I do not. Honestly, yeah, I don't play guys I don't know, and I don't know him, and I don't know that a Kaplan guy. I don't even know his name. Yeah, I won't play him. Can you tell me Gim's ownership? I can. I'll check it out for you, boss. 1 second. I should just keep the tab open, right? Rather than reopening it over and over. You said Gim, right? 10.7%. It's kind of high, but like Tom Hoagie's still 7.4%. So like you're not too out of touch there. You beat you to it. Heard some other golf experts talking about the kid. Yeah, maybe someone to keep an eye on. But yeah, for me, unless I have knowledge of the guy, like I don't blind tail other people's opinions of players. I've got to see it first. So I'll definitely be keeping an eye out for it, right? Trying to see what he's got. Usti, no idea. Have not seen the waves yet. Usti is not in the field. It's a live golfer. Is there someone else named Usti in the field that I'm just like not thinking of? Because it's not a live event. There's got to be someone else, or maybe you just typed something wrong, right? And it auto-corrected. Because Louis Uste is an A in this field, Chief. All right, let's let you correct that one. You saying sorry? Yeah, so you're probably thinking of someone else, right? Excessive heat warning for tomorrow afternoon. Yeah, if it's hot, 100 degrees, and it's windy, oh boy, that'll be fun. Going to stir up a storm tomorrow afternoon. Yeah, I saw that too. There's a one model that's calling for that, one that isn't. So it's kind of up in the air. Sam Bennett thoughts. I like him this week. AM Wave golfer. And he's just a stud to begin with. I think he's a good talent too. So do I make my core plays when playing round one? Core plays are done on Monday. So no, they're done early in the week before tee times even come out. And they're for the entire golf tournament. They're pretty much the guys that I'm betting when the betting board drops, when Draftkings pricing drops, right? Like the guys that stand out as the best plays are essentially my core plays. Louis Oosthuizen outright looks so good. Sam Ryder make any sense? I think so. Stenson birdie or better? Yeah, lock. He's a lock over 69.5 birds. I think that's the lock of the century right there. Speaking of, it's the perfect segue. Let's go through props, which if you guys haven't noticed yet, unfortunately, I'm about to deliver you really, really bad news. The golf betting industry, and this isn't just one book, this is like all the books cooperatively have seemingly decided that golf betting is not going to be a thing for props, at least on these like DFS sites. Like I'm sure all the betting sites where they can like put juice on them and stuff, like regular sports books, those will be fine. There's probably nothing going to change on that end, I'd imagine. But over here for these DFS betting sites, they've completely screwed it up. So let me just show you what I'm talking about. Over here in Prize Picks, if you take just like 2 overs on birdies, right, rather than getting paid 3x, it's 2.5x. And you may say, oh, that's not so bad, right? Just use overs and unders, right? Well, if you use a 4-man card right here, 2 overs and 2 unders, right? In the past, this would pay 12.5x. This would pay 12.5x for a power play, I believe 8x for a flex. They're now paying 8x for a power play, right? No insurance, nothing for 3 out of 4, in 4x, half as much for a flex play. That is absolutely criminal. They're doing this for pretty much all payouts. The only way you can get a regular 3x card is by taking an over and an under. And I think if you take like 2 overs and an under, you get like a regular payout card. So essentially the only way to get, a normal payout card compared to other sports is to inversely correlate your card. Some may say that they're just taking away correlation. They're not just taking away correlation. They're enforcing inverse correlation. There's a difference between the two, right? Between them going out there and just saying that they're going to make it so that you can't like only correlate in one direction, right? Like that's a role in its own. What they've done is they've forced you into taking negative EV cards, playing different props where if they set them at exactly 50-50 lines, that in theory, you're always playing a negative EV play. Now, that's not how it works. They misprice props, right? I know that's not how it works in reality, but that's as grimy as a situation as it can get, is essentially what they're forcing you into, right? Okay. And I guess they're not like forcing you, right? You're still getting 2.5x, but like that's a plus 150 parlay for a 2-leg parlay, right? If these are truly 50-50 props, which is what they're advertised as, right? That is like the worst odds for a 2-leg parlay in human history, right? So like don't even get me started with that end, right? If we're going to start talking about how they're not forcing you into anything. Over here in Underdog, if you wanted to take 2 overs on strokes, so let's say Gary Woodland, JT were 2 guys that you wanted to take. If you want to hit submit on here, you can see I took all my money off of Underdog. I don't know if it's up there on the live stream right now, my balance, but it's 50 cents right now because I took all my money out of here. You can't even do it. It'll stop you. You can't even take 2 things from the same category in the same direction. That means that if you want to take an over for strokes, your next prop has to be like a birdie prop, right? Let's say it's like an under on birdies. You can enter this, right? But let's say you wanted to make like a 3-man card. Let's say it was like over on Gary Woodland birdies, strokes, and then like under on these 2 for birdies. It would ban you from entering this, right? Because you have 2 unders for birdies. That's how ridiculous the rules are over here in Underdog now. So it's a complete shit show. It's borderline unplayable on those kind of sites. Super Draft has been doing it like this for forever, right? Where you have to take like the over and the under, but at least they're not enforcing like inverse correlation. So like we're left with the situation here where Prize Picks you can only play if you have a DNP, or you can somehow hack it to get normal payouts. something that they were doing earlier is if you took a par or better prop and mixed it with another prop, like even if they were both like supportive stances, you can see it right here, right? Overs for pars is supportive. Over here for strokes, right? An under would be a supportive stance for a player. You can get the regular payout. So there seems to be a few like glitches right now where you can go out there and still get the full 3x payout. But like, unless you jump through a hoop and do that, you're left with like less than normal payouts for every single prop that you're entering. So that site's pretty much shit. Over here in Underdog, right? We already went through that. That's complete shit to go out there and play. You can still do it, or you just have to mix the categories to go out there and actually put together slips. But it's no longer the edge that we had before. It's not as fun, right? You have to really like force in cards. Like you're at most like pretty much left with like 3-man cards for entering slips, which is just like horrible, right? We're used to entering like 5-man lottos of like all overs for birdies. And now you can enter at most one of them. One over for birdies in a card, right? We used to do a whole 5-man lottos of those. So there's these sites, I feel like you should try to avoid at all costs. Super Draft, probably don't even give them much action. I do have a few prop slips in at this point, as you can see right there. But the main site that I'm playing right now is called Chirp Golf. They, I believe, came out like in the last month or so. Like they've literally just started, from what I can understand, doing some of the pick'em stuff. And essentially it's Underdog. They have the same lines as Underdog. They have the same payouts as Underdog does, but they don't have the rules on how to make your cards. And it's only a golf app. So the lines that they're posting are like only for golf. They have some sort of lines that are like pay out higher multipliers. So they're like harder to hit props. Don't get me wrong, but like if you get them right, like you get 10x for a 2-legger. They also have props where like they're really easy to hit. They're like 80% hit rate props, where if you go 5 for 5, you get 3x return. So they've got a few different things going on over there. They're definitely trying to add some variety, it looks like, over there to the golf betting scene. If they're going to have the normal payouts, if they're going to have no like negative multipliers, no restrictions on making cards, that's where I'm going to put all of my action, right? I feel like it's pretty straightforward, right? Like if all of the, let me actually bring up my a code to like join it and whatnot, so you guys can check it out. I'm not paid by them to say this. I'm not affiliate of them whatsoever, but literally it's at this point, it's the best prop site out there, at least for golf betting, right? Like other sports, we don't have to deal with this, right? This is just like a thing that they're doing for this site for whatever reason. For whatever reason, they're just going out there. They're trying to absolutely screw us with golf on a lot of these DFS betting sites. It's almost like they're colluding to go out there and do so. But if you guys haven't signed up already, use this link down in chat that I've got there and sign up. I think there's a deposit match if memory serves me correctly. But yeah, it's the best option that we have right now. And they don't even have an online website. It's that new. It's literally that new that we don't have an online website. So I can't even go out there and bring up like the board right now and show you what they've got. I can tell you though that it's very similar to Underdog. So if you're going to download Chirp, the best props that I think that you can enter right now would be the under on Adam Hadwin bogeys. He's at 2.5 there, if they still haven't bumped anything. And then I would probably take, let me think, still on Chirp. I think they still have Hideki at 69 strokes. If they don't, it's Sepp Straka over 4.5 birdies. So their board, yeah, they bump just like all the other sites, right? That's something that all these prop sites are going to do. But if they're doing normal payouts and they're not doing any of the other sketchy BS, I think they're the place to play at. So I'm sure I did the whole rant. I'm sure a few of you DFS guys may have hopped on out of here. I appreciate all your support. Nonetheless, though, hit that like button on the way out of here. And we'll go through a few props on prize picks and whatnot that I think you might be able to play. But yeah, the situation's not good. Let's just say that much. Let's see. Do I make core plays for round 1 like I do for main slate? I don't. So I don't even play round 1 showdown. So rounds 2 through 4 showdown, I do put out player polls and whatnot, but I don't do core plays. Core plays are mostly meant for content, right? I identify them as that because I want people to know, right, in my Patreon that, hey, this is a player that I talked up in my content this week, so that they know that not only does everyone else know about this play, but they know that the ownership might be a little bit higher too. So that's the main reason for it. Eric Van Royston. Maybe you were talking about him. That's funny. Have I spoken about Remy yet? He's an okay play. He's played pretty well here. No, right? The event history has been pretty decent for Ches. Let's double check that. Let's fact check that, huh? Make sure we're not putting out fake news. T49, T11 finishes. Pretty decent, pretty decent. Let's see. What's the what wave is good old Chezzy in? He's an AM wave golfer. Sold. Yeah, you can play him. I got you with EVR. You're saying, yeah, if you're going to play EVR, you know, I believe he's in the decent wave. But again, we got to double check that. I'm not a huge EVR guy this week. He's PM wave golfer. Yeah, I can't do it. Just not a good course fit to begin with. Here we go. They're basically admitting that this isn't fantasy and that they're a gambling site. Yeah, pretty much. Right? It doesn't seem fair. Like they're just treating golf differently, right? They're giving us different odds and whatnot. Yeah, I don't know. I don't even think it's legal what they're doing because it wasn't just one site that did it. One site changed and then like 3 or 4 other ones changed the same day, right? So it's like they all had a meeting and went, you know what? We're all losing our hat on golf. Let's all lower payouts so that there's no choices to go with. Well, luckily there's still one site left and I have my fingers crossed and I'm knocking on wood right now, literally, because who knows how long that lasts, right? You're good, bro. There you go. Mackenzie Hughes. Yeah, I like him. I do like Mackenzie this week. Thank you, Luke, for answering all the questions about Patreon. Can you get back in there soon? You can. I'll after the stream, I'll look into that, man. Bruce says, got you. There you go. Paul says, golf injury report flags Hideki is still not 100%. Yeah, I don't look at that channel very much, Paul. So just for full disclosure, that site, and again, I'm not trying to poke jabs. The guy specializes on injuries. He's marked people as questionable and like has said that there's a good chance that somebody withdraws. And then Xander Schauffele, for example, at the Amex, I believe he had him as doubtful to even finish the golf tournament. And he finished in second place, nearly won the golf tournament, right? So like take it with a grain of salt. Now that's just one example, but there are numerous other examples of where the guys said something like that and the guys nearly won the golf tournament. Wyndham Clark, for example, he said like had like a knee injury at Quill Hollow. Again, I don't want to poke jabs at somebody. That's not the point of this. The point of it's to point out that that guy knows just as much about these things as we do. So don't look into that too much. That's all much I'll say there. JT, questionable, undisclosed reason. Yeah, like what does he claim to know that we don't, right? I don't know. I don't buy it. You say he was limping at Hoylake. Yeah. You're saying him limping? Yeah. Like, I don't know, man. I feel like people look too much into that. I'm not changing my thing at all. That's all noise to me, to be frank with you. They wouldn't be playing if they're injured. You've always noticed that most pros do not play round one at all. May do that after coming back from vacation. Yeah, I'm not a huge round one guy, to be frank with you. It's like the same thing as main slate. It's just extra exposure, I guess. And honestly, the selection for like rounds 2 through 4 showdown aren't great, right? Like for GPPs, like the main slate GPP sucks for rounds 2 through 4. Round 1's even worse. So like that's the problem, is no one plays round 1 showdown. Of course, it's only available for Apple and you have an iPhone. It's not available for Android. It should be on there, right? You'd have to think it is. No chirp in Arizona. Hey, can't appease everybody, man. Is what it is, right? Thoughts on Norn? If he's AM wave, you could play him. Not my favorite play, though. What is he? Go to Alex Noren, AM wave. You take him. He's played well here. I know that. His event history is sneaky. That I do know about Alex Noren. Right? He's a T3 finish 3 years ago. I've seen crazier things pay off. Injury report guy on Twitter wants to be famous. Yeah, and I also think he's full of shit. Like he started his Twitter account. He started a Patreon when he had like 40 followers on Twitter, and he was tweeting out the nonsense like Xander Schauffele was hurt, doubtful to even start the golf tournament, and then he goes out there and nearly wins the golf tournament. Luckily, that week I told everyone on this exact live stream on Wednesday to still play him, and that I thought the guy was full of shit. And guess what? What happened, right? Xander nearly won the golf tournament. So like, that's why I point that out. You say most bogus stuff you'll see. Again, I don't want to point any jabs, but I don't think you're incorrect there. That's all we're going to do for this live stream. I'm going to go ahead and cut it off here. Best of luck. Thank you guys for all the support here on the channel as per usual. We will be doing showdown streams for rounds 2 through 4. So keep an eye out on my Twitter for when we'll be going live with those. It'll likely be like an hour, maybe hour and a half after play ends. So considering it's over there in Minnesota, probably like 8:30, 9 p.m. Eastern time. So again, we'll be posting the start times over there on Twitter, also over there on the Patreon page. And let's have ourselves a week. Let's cash out on some props, even if it's on a site that we haven't really seen all that often, and have ourselves a week for those GPPs too. Like I said, guys, I appreciate all the support here, and I'll catch you guys for the stream tomorrow.